Lawmen BassReeves part 1 and part 2 are over, but we're just getting started here on the Connect. Yes, that's right. We got y'all here with some coverage of this new Paramount Plus show that should be taking the world by storm or maybe keeping people's mild interest. Regardless, it looked black, so we're gonna talk about it here on the Connect. And so it's me, Chappell, per usual, here to break down what I would say is a new spin on some of the stuff that we've talked about here on the Connect. We have what is essentially a Western set in the time of Reconstruction and a lot of weird things going on with slavery. We got a lot going on to talk about and to unpack here. And with me, making his debut on the Connect for the very first time, of course, that's what debut means, Mr. Jason Reed. Jason, what's up?
Chappell, I finally made it. I'm here. The Connect.
Yes, he did it.
I've been begging you for a while. Let me come on. You're like, I got you. And then here we are talking about BassReeves. A Western, a black Western. Interesting about a real character. I mean, listen, it's interesting. It's something, right?
Yeah, it exists.
It's there. It's a show that happened.
Yeah, it happened. So this is a Western about BassReeves, who was an actual former, U.S. Marshal, the first black Deputy U.S. Marshal, and the first west of the Mississippi River. BassReeves, a historical figure that is going to be covered on the same network that is giving us Yellowstone. And so this is right up that same alley, that same kind of vibe. But again, we're looking at a cast that is majority black, depending on when you're watching the show, what episode, and what time, or what scene. And so it did feel like something we needed to address on the Connect. And we're going to try to go through part 1 and part 2 to determine if this is something that we need to finish or if this is just something we need to, hang our hat on and say, we did that. So Jason, what do you know about Lawmen BassReeves as a project, as a historical figure? Catch us up.
Well, I didn't know much about BassReeves himself. Like, I had heard the name. I knew the name. I knew the person. Like, he was the first deputy, first black deputy. Knew that, but that was pretty much my breadth of knowledge of the person. So it was interesting to get this update. You mentioned it's from the same network as Yellowstone. It's not just the same network. It's from the same creator of Yellowstone. He is a executive producer on this. He has kind of passed off most of the duties to someone else, a Chad Feehan. So he's kind of running the ship, and David Oyelowo is an executive producer, so he has a little bit of input. But I would say I did, inspect some of the behind the scenes people, executive producers, and let me just say, it's not a very diverse setup there. A lot of the same kind of person that is of Taylor Sheridan. So I'm familiar with Taylor Sheridan, not from Yellowstone. But I recently covered here on Post Show Recaps, Special Ops Lioness, which is also by Taylor Sheridan, who that one is, primarily about a kind of a task force that deals with a lot of women, special agents. So it's interesting that this guy Taylor Sheridan typically takes the reins of shows. And for the one with Lioness, it's about a lot of women, and he didn't really have a lot of women help. So I was curious to see how involved black people were in this production. That is to say, not very.
Not very
at all. Now we do have directors of the episodes that are black, so that helps some credibility. And of course, we had David Oyelowo, but it was very interesting to see some of the behind the scenes people behind it and to see how they handled it inside the episode. So I'm excited to kind of go through it with you and kind of break it down.
Yeah, David Oyelowo, who I know as Martin Luther King. I was like, oh, MLK is going to be in this. I got to check it out. Famously from Selma. And so I was like, all right, this could be Connect-ish. But when I watched it, I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to leave that in the hands of the Connect listeners and see if we get a lot of demand to cover this show, because we got a lot of room for content here on the Connect on Post Show Recaps, because our goal here is, of course, to talk about the hot black shows that are out, black cast, black directors, black creators, all that good stuff. And so this one is a mixed-ish.
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah,
And
I would say
so,
that's good. That's a good word for it. You know, all
yeah.
the writer of this is a white man, so that I found that very interesting, especially with some of the tropes and some of the vocabulary used in the show. So
Hmm.
I found that very interesting, illuminating a little bit. So yeah, there is that.
All right. And before we go to our first ad break, I do have to ask Jason, since you are new here on the Connect, we've seen we brought in some guest speakers before. We brought in one of your co-hosts, Asia, before
Mhm.
to come in on the Connect. We've had special guests like Bryce on and stuff, but we really want to highlight you here because I would love to have you here for more content. So could you tell the people a little bit about your background before we get started?
Oh yeah, I was born and bred in Virginia, so I was there for for a lot of my life. Now I'm here in Maryland, having a good time. I'm a big TV person, a big pop culture TV person. I was some people say you were raised by TV. I was
Mm,
raised by TV. I
samesies.
big Chappelle, you and I have been on shows talking about sitcoms,
Hmm.
famously the Dad Bracket on Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast. So we are both well versed in TV. So that's really where a lot of my knowledge base comes from, and where a lot of what I love to talk about is kind of birthed within.
Yeah, and you said you talked about Special Ops Lioness. I know you do Married at First Sight.
Yep.
What else do you talk about?
So I do a lot. At the moment, I'm doing a lot here on Post Show Recaps, more than usual. Some things that I am well versed in, and some things I'm not well versed in. But I love to take on projects that I don't know a lot about. That's something like Lawmen, BassReeves, or something I was interested in. It's like this was something new for me to cover. I've never done a Western type thing before, so interesting to go on that. Right now, I'm
Mhm.
doing Gilded Age with Marissa Garza, which is set pretty kind of in the same time period as this. Really, the Gilded Age takes place probably a little bit in the timeline after this, but it's a completely different show. So it's about kind of the high society of New York in the late 1800s, which is something I didn't know anything about. So, but I was
Mhm.
excited to take that on. And now I'm also a big comic book head. I'm a big nerd, a blurred, if you will. So here on
Mhm.
Post Recast, I'm also tackling Loki, the MCU show. I'm also tackling Invincible, the other superhero animated show. So that's kind of where a lot of my interest lies. Also, of course, I'm in like most reality TV show or TV show watchers, I'm into mess. So that's where I
Yes.
really get to really bring my personality out. It's talking about mess. So of course I have Married at First Sight that I talk about with Asia Welch. We've done that. I've done that with her for about probably 3 or 4 seasons now. We have a great time. We've built a great community with our podcast, The Perfect Match. So have a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, I'm just kind of really all over the place with my interests and what I like to talk about.
Yes, and thank you for that, Jason. So y'all hear this on the Connect. We have a certified professional podcaster here to come and
Yeah.
join me on this journey through the Lawman Bass Reeves, episodes part 1 and part 2. And so we will get into all of that and talk about what we actually watched on this episode right after this break. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, Jason, 2 episodes in, Lawman Bass Reeves, we have the story of, seemingly a slave, essentially, who has been forced to go into the Confederate Army of all things and to fight alongside Massa. Um,
But he's not really even a soldier. He's more of like a caddy, right? For
yeah,
these Confederate soldiers, like, boy, get me my 5 wedge rifle so I can take out some of these soldiers over here. It was so weird. It just that's kind of what it seemed like. He was just kind of along for the ride, not really even a soldier, just there as a slave to be an assistant to his major master or whatever.
yeah. He's just there for vibes, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. He's there for the vibes. He's like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever is asked of me because that's just what slaves do. And so yeah, we talked about it. Is David Oyelowo as Bass Reeves, who we see spring into action at the very beginning of this episode, as these Confederate soldiers are fighting this war. Now, to the keen eye, most of us know that Bass Reeves is on the wrong side of history right now.
Yeah.
He's fighting
Yeah, of course.
a losing battle, Jason. I think that caught me off guard. So I'm
Yeah.
familiar with Bass Reeves, the person, right? But it is still jarring to see that this man joined the Confederate States Army during the Civil War, following, of course, his owner
Yeah, well,
Mr. George R.
he didn't really
Reeves.
have a choice, Chappelle. It wasn't something he went into.
Yes,
He's like, you know what, this sounds good. Let me do this. He was forced into this.
of course,
Um,
of course. This man
yeah.
has no decisions in this.
What did you think about this? I thought the scene was extremely graphic. I was like, oh my, this is what we're getting into. Like heads blown off. I was like, oh my god, I didn't know we were getting this crazy.
I could do the gunshots. The gunshots were fine. But then when I see somebody go get scalped, I was like, hold on,
my
what are
god,
we doing?
too much. And you watch Walking Dead.
Yeah, look, in The Walking Dead, one thing never happens. Kids don't die no more in The Walking Dead. I'm sorry if that spoils The Walking Dead for you. Back in the day, we used to kill children. Shout out to Carol.
It's very tame now. It's very tame,
right?
You know,
we don't do these things on The Walking Dead. It's a very classy show now. Fear the Walking Dead it's the upper echelon of zombie content, or at least it's been on the longest. And so here, yeah, it's a little gory. I'm not gonna lie to you. The scalping, the killing of children, it caught me off guard in this little 2-part event that we got here for the Lawmen BassReeves. But ultimately, BassReeves is a hero in this moment. He kind of saves the day, but he's still a slave.
Yeah. And I did love how when he's going to go jump into the fight, he's chasing after his master. I believe in that moment, he's aiming at his master because he just saw a bunch of black people get killed on his side. So like, this is bullshit. Let me go. I'm done with this. He's gonna go kill his master, but then he sees the cannons in the background, right? So he's like, oh well, I guess in order for me not to be killed by cannons here, let me take out the cannon masters. But it seems like by the end of the fight, he's reverted back to like, yeah, I guess I'll just do what I'm supposed to do. But I found it very interesting that I feel like he was going into battle and he was behind his master. He was aiming for his master, but then he's like, you know what? In order to save my own life, let me save this guy's life too.
You could see that there was a conflict on his face, right? Like you could see that. I was thinking he was going to make a run for it. I thought like, okay, people are getting picked off left and right around him. God clearly has this man's back because everybody's getting shot, but BassReeves is kind of standing there like a deer in the headlights, and he's getting missed. Like there's like bullets are whizzing past him. I'm thinking, Bass, this is your chance. Push master, take off. You got it. And so yeah, there is that moment where it looks like if I survive the war and Master doesn't, this might be good for me. I get to go home to mistress, whatever her name is. And, my family, I got a wife back at home. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if Master dies, but the cannon fire was about to happen. So he had to make a decision, and he does. And there's, I think Master, played by Shea Wingham, is very happy with Bass's performance, but also he's still a slave. And so later on, when they are regrouping and talking about, the victory that they won, we still see that BassReeves is still serving everyone. He just saved the day, but he's out here pouring people's drinks, running around doing people's labor, typical slave nonsense, Jason.
Yeah, like when he gets confronted by the other slave when they kind of regroup at the other, he's like, I saw you shooting. You're on the wrong side. It's like, well, we're in the same place, like what do
you want me to do?
Yeah,
what am I supposed to do?
Come on.
Look, he didn't have a lot of options, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Later on, when Bass sees that like Bass is on a horse and the other slave is like getting dragged along, he's like,
yeah, sorry about it, brother. Sorry about it.
Yeah,
I gotta keep on moving.
I'm sorry, man. We all got our lot in life. That just happens to be yours. It ain't my fault. I picked the winning side.
Sucks to be you, man. Sucks to be you.
Man, but this is tough to watch because we know that the Confederacy is doing fine right now in this war, but we know the outcome later on will not be so great for them, whether they believe it or not. 100 years later, they still believe that they might have won or that they still exist. But we are watching the downfall.
Yeah.
Still people that believe that, especially where this is, in the state that this is basically set in, which is Texas, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ain't you proud?
I am a lot of things. I will say that. And so God is favoring the Confederacy, they say in this episode. But BassReeves is looking to, I guess, kind of just get back home, right? He has to get back home to his lovely wife, Jenny, or Jeannie. Is it Jeannie or Jenny?
I think it's Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. And Jenny is played by Lauren Ebanks, who I don't think I've ever seen before in anything else. Are you familiar with this actress?
I have not recalled seeing her in anything else before. I'm sure if I looked her up, I'd be like, oh yeah, like she might have one of those faces, like, oh, you're that person. But I cannot recall anything I've ever seen her in.
Yeah, I feel like this is a breakout role for her because I've never heard of this actress before. I did a little research and could find very little, and so if not
Yeah.
a breakout role for her, potentially a big break if this show does take off. And so we see that when Bass finally gets home, he meets Jenny, his wife. They
Well,
do the things.
I love when he came in and the position that Jenny is in. I feel it was so weird. She had her arm up here and she had underarm hair. So it's like the show was like, see, this is back in old times. Like they all had underarm hair. Like they weren't shaving. It was such a. It felt like it was so set up to show us that because the
Yeah.
position she was in was so odd. I just found that to be something funny just within this kind of very serious backdrop. Like, why would you do that? Like, see,
No,
this
it's
is
like
old times. No one shaved back then.
make sure you know that these were slaves and they couldn't
Yeah,
shave.
yeah.
Like they were not allowed to
Such
do
a
these
weird
things.
choice. Such a weird choice to make just in production.
Yeah, I mean, even before they get home, there's a couple other moments where it's kind of like, remember this is slavery? Remember this is slavery? Because we see that Bass and Massa Reeves, they kind of talk, and Massa is sick. But he's fine. He's still fighting like a healthy man. But also Bass has ambitions to one day learn how to read, Jason. He wants to be able to read because how else is he going to know how to read the Bible? Like he's got to learn some things. I'm like, oh yeah, because he's a slave, right? We get it.
Mass is like, that's funny. Like you learn how to read, and then like the dynamic between these two, especially as they're on their way home from Massa being given a sick note to excuse himself from the war, pretty much.
Yeah, he got a reprieve.
Yeah, so the dynamic was interesting because there was almost this weird bond, but then they couldn't bond too much because remember, you're still my slave. Because he was talking to him about normal things like, oh yeah, but just to keep you in your place, remember who you are.
You do know you're
and
a slave.
where we are.
Yeah,
like don't get too comfortable. Like don't go to sleep before me because that's just ridiculous. Why would a slave go to sleep before his master? Like, come on.
Right. You got to remember you're a slave.
Yeah, and as he talks about, as Bass talks about heaven, basically, and Mass is like, well, I mean, that's not where you're going. Like, you're going someplace. I'm going there. You probably, you won't be, though. It's just like crazy.
He said, look up in the sky at all those stars. You see those stars? That's heaven. You see that dark, shadowy place over there? That's an elephant graveyard. And that is for you and your people. Yeah.
That's your house.
That's who y'all gonna be. Only white folk go to the big dance, he says. But speaking of Massa's illness, he got this reprieve because he got a hot ass mouth. Massa's been talking noise. He is not okay with the way the war is going. They're losing supplies and stuff like that. But Massa seems like a bit of a jackass, if you ask me, because there are moments where BassReeves, who is fighting for Massa's life a lot throughout this episode. At the very beginning, we see him in the war, not killing Massa when he probably should have. He's trying to feed the horses and stuff, and Massa's pulling the gun on him like, boy, don't you try me, don't you sass me. And it's like, Massa, come on, man.
I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to feed your horses, man.
Right, exactly. And we see the height of Massa's assholeness in this episode as well, because he says to Bass, look, you done good, kid. I think that I might give you a reward. I think that you could leave here scot-free, and literally free, like as a free man. But you have to beat me in a game of cards. So Massa,
Bass is like, spades? I got you in spades.
Yeah, Bass said spades. He's like, no. We play the white man's game.
Yeah. Poker, baby.
Yeah, poker. Texas Hold'em. It actually wasn't Texas Hold'em, but they do play this game. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Massa's obviously showed Bass how to play because Bass, I feel like Bass is toying with the idea of what happens if I actually beat Massa. Do I beat Massa and Massa just says, well, you got me. It's a wrap. Go ahead and go. Or does Massa say, boy, who taught you how to count? There's definitely moments where Bass is looking at his cards because as he lifts up these cards, he sees a spade and a spade and a spade. I'm thinking, Bass really wishes they were playing spades. Really wishes they were playing spades at this point. Yeah.
He got books upon books at this point.
Exactly. He's about to clean house, but he realizes that he has like a full suit, just spades. All his cards are spades. And so you could see the look on his face. He knows he's about to clean up. He's about to be
starts
free.
Crying even. Yeah.
He starts crying even. And I mean, this is tough to watch, Jason. I'm not gonna lie to you. Massa pulls out. 4 of a
we all
kind.
knew this was a catch. We all knew this was a catch-22, right? Like he wasn't gonna let him go no matter what. So we all knew something was gonna happen here. But the interesting part, you know, because Bass, puts back a card, takes a card, and wouldn't you know, he gets all spades. But the interesting note is he puts down a queen of hearts,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then Massa beats him with 4 queens. It's like,
Including a queen of hearts.
yeah, including the queen of hearts that Bass had in his hand. So I was like, oh damn, like this is a mess.
And this is the straw that breaks Bass's back, right? This is the one where he's like, I cannot do this with you anymore because I potentially could have killed you earlier. I saved your life. You had no reason to toy with me like this. Like, you do not benefit from beating me, except that you kind of wanted to put me into a submissive place. You wanted to prove again that you're the dominant person in this partnership because you are the slave master and I have no rights and I can do nothing. And so you did this just to be an asshole. And so Bass loses it. And they get to talking about how Bass has to follow his master, and master is like shooting off like Bible scriptures, but Bass is shooting them back. Like, Bass, can you read? You know,
Bible fight.
Right, Bible fight. A false master is an abomination to the Lord. And due to that, Bass beats the hell out of him. I mean, beats the brakes off of Massa.
Bass F around to find out if you want to, but
and he did.
Listen, I thought he killed him. I really did. I
was hoping that he killed him. Right? Isn't that the move? You kill him and then you take off.
Yeah,
you
I
get your
thought
family and go.
I thought he killed him. I thought he killed him dead right, but come to find out later, he got still alive. I kind of hope he shows back up later down the line in the series to kind of get that because we find out later that he's gonna Mass is gonna turn to a politician after the war is over and everything. So I would be interested to see if they ever meet back up again and how that goes.
Yeah, it would be fun to see the reunion because Bass got the better of him before going to tell Jenny goodbye. I mean, he goes to Jenny like, girl, I messed up. And she says, you need to run. Take the horse and go because they going to kill you dead, sir. You are going to die if you stay here.
Honestly, I was like, Jenny, you should probably go with him at this point.
Why don't you both go? Right.
Yeah, because listen, they might know that Bass and Jenny are sweet on each other and take out what Bass did on Jenny. So I was like, Jenny, you should probably go too. Like, get on that horse with him. But she's like, no, you go and you never look back. Bass didn't even suggest you go with him. He was like, all right, I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, and so throughout this, Bass is on the run. He gets stopped by some slave catchers at some point. Like, boy, get off that damn horse. And I'm thinking, what a hating ass job. Imagine your job is to go stop people from being free. Like, how much do you get paid to do this? Is there like that's it? You just go out and just hating on other people? Whatever, it's fine.
Probably a whole ass $1 a night, which back then was
back
a lot of money.
Gold, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bass ends up swimming into Indian territory through the Red River, which as a Texan, I'm very familiar with that area. But also, come on, y'all. The Native Americans were here. This is not India. Come on, let's keep up. But but yes, he's over here in the Native American area, and it's very clear that now he's safe. Right, we got him. He's gone through a lot to get here. He's eating some carcasses. Like, we really get the idea that they're going to give us a glimpse into what it was like to be on foot out here during the time where you just couldn't go buy food. Right.
So he forgot to get his shoes on the way out. He was all barefoot and cut up. Like you said, I think what was it, a snake he was eating? A dead snake and a snake skin?
Yeah. He saw the buzzards on it and was like, okay, it's either you or me. And so he went and took their food. And so we find him in Seminole Nation in April 1862, where he meets a woman named Sarah and her horse Pistol. They also have a kid named Curtis. And Sarah takes him in.
You said they as if it's the horse's kid too.
Well, yeah. It's like the kid and Sarah have a horse named Pistol.
Sarah and Pistol have a child named Curtis. Don't ask me how that worked, but
well, look, by July, he's basically Bass's stepson. And so Curtis gets to teach Bass how to swim. They're teaching him the language. He's learning how to speak Creek. So we get this montage of him being like the cool black stepdaddy. who gets to
I'm
come
your
in and
stepdaddy now, boy.
yeah, I'm your daddy. So later on, they end up at the Turkey Creek Trading Post, and this is where the shite hits the fan a little bit, because we see that Bass has gotten very comfortable. He's out here wheeling and dealing. Like
He speaks
the
Creek
people.
now.
He speaks Creek now, so he's a good translator for people. He's making a little money on the side, kind of hustling. Bass is gonna do nothing else. He gonna hustle.
Yeah, because he's been
But
here like 3 years. By the time you get to the trading post, like we jump from 62 to
to
65.
65.
So yeah, he's been here for a
Exactly.
while. So he's very comfortable in his new life now.
At least he was, because his old life is about to show up. We see Major Pierce show up, and he's kind of like, look, Bass, I know you ain't been paying attention, but the Confederacy, God did not favor the Confederacy. Dark times over here, and they are about to pull a move, like a ambush, if you will. And so
Jailbreak, baby.
Jailbreak, baby. There end up some gunshots. There's more shooting, more gore, and to the point where Curtis now has his weapon out on Major Pierce, who Bass tries to talk down. He's like, Curtis, put your gun down, let Major Pierce go. And I'm thinking, Bass, what you talking about?
He got him dead to
Why are you
rights.
doing this?
Get him.
Right. Let
Pull
him
that
kill him.
trigger. Pull the trigger, baby.
Why not? Why not, Bass? Why are
Good
you
job,
so...
son. Good job. Pull that trigger.
You done a thing that I couldn't do. Your daddy, your dear old dad wasn't able to pull the trigger when I needed to, but now you get to, you get to live in that moment for me. But I guess he wants to preserve this kid's innocence. So we see what happens when you try to protect this man. Major Pierce pulls the trigger first. Curtis is dead, and now Bass is all alone. I mean, Sarah basically tells him, take the horse and go.
Yeah, I wonder if Sarah was like, you know what, my life's over. Time for me to go as well. We didn't see that. I thought we might. But she basically sends Bass on it. I didn't even know. I wasn't even sure if Sarah and Bass were like a romantic item or what that was about. Because like it didn't seem there was a lot of love there. I don't know if he was just like kind of like a father figure in the house, but maybe he and Sarah weren't macking. She was still caught up on the loss of her husband. I didn't know, but it was an interesting scene for sure.
There have been several years where both of them were away from their significant others. Do y'all at least spoon a little bit? No disrespect.
Sarah's like, my husband's dead. And Bass like, oh, for real? Because I just left my girl. I mean,
what's up?
Like,
what's up?
We both here,
right.
like
Right. We ain't got to be romantic, but we can do a little something.
Right, I don't gotta be that serious.
It didn't feel like it, it got there because Sarah tells him, your heart still beats. Mine, we just buried. We buried with my son Curtis, and so take the horse and go. And so this sends us to Grayson County in 1865, when Bass goes back to the slave quarters, and he's looking for Jenny, but he doesn't find him. He finds Mistress Rachel instead, and she like, Bass, where you been? What's up?
Like we old friends or something. I was like, what are we doing? Like, Rachel, what you like?
I
didn't know you like that.
Like, your husband, right? And then I started thinking, did she know him like that? You know how it used to be back in the day.
How about old times, Bass? You want to come on inside?
Right. And Bass
I'm here all by myself.
No, yeah. She said, Master's gone. And Bass was like, I'm going to go too. And so she tells him, you should go find Jenny because she's in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Massa has turned his life to politics. I'm going to do a quick Google search real quick to see if George Reeves, where his political career took him. And it does say he ends up a former speaker of the House of the State of Texas, and a colonel in the Confederate States Army. So yeah, I'm assuming that this is what led him to Speaker of the House. So pretty cool for George Reeves, but also I guess he freed a slave in the meantime. I mean, technically, if the war is over, I mean, but this is Texas. But this is Texas. You had to, in quotation marks. Yeah, exactly. You had to, in theory.
I mean, we gonna tell you to, but we're not gonna come around and check or nothing. Like, if you don't, like, we're not gonna really know.
Right, because we know Juneteenth is June of 1865, and that's when the word got back to Texas that, okay, y'all, you didn't know, but the slaves are free. So Jenny is in Arkansas living her best life, and so Bass pulls up on her. I don't know how he tracks her. No Google Maps, no sharing location back then.
He just goes and walks around like, let me see if I can find this girl. Let
me see if I can find Jenny. Hey, Jenny. So he finds her, and Jenny is there. It gave me big Wakanda Forever vibes. Like, Jenny, who's the little girl you got with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's
her.
she looks, ominously kind of like me. Is there something to that? I don't know.
Right. We call her Bass Junior is what we call her. So he's like, so Jenny, your new man treating you right? She's like, yeah, I got a man or whatever. His name Bass. I ain't seen him in 10 years, but you know,
I thought that was
it's
very
you.
cute. That was very cute.
Yeah. Very cute. And so that ends part one. I mean, it basically sets us up for Bass has gone off to war. The war is ended. Slavery is over. And now him and Jenny are probably going to start a new life together with their new baby. Jason, as far as episode one goes, did you feel like, okay, I need to see what's happening in episode two? Or were you just like, okay, that was fine?
I thought, because this premiered as a 2-episode block, which is why we're talking about episodes 1 and 2. So I thought it was interesting the way that they used the 2 episodes to kind of really solidify who Bass was and where he came from. It was a little long in the tooth. I think probably so, because the first episode, it was like 55 minutes. We could have really condensed that down a little bit. But I did appreciate getting the a lot of the backstory of who Bass was and how he came to be who he was. For someone like David Oyelowo, who is such a storied actor, they didn't really give him a lot to do in these 2 episodes. Like it didn't really feel like he gave really like great performances. He emoted a lot, but there wasn't a lot of like acting, like a professional I felt from David Oyelowo on these 2 episodes, which is I think a problem with kind of the script and problem with like utilizing the people that we have in the correct way. So there's that.
Yeah, and I think we run into these issues in other ways as well when it comes to this genre of television or in movies, the slave genre, right? It's like you got this great actor who is essentially in turmoil the entire time, not talking, a lot of facial acting, a lot of, ducking and dodging, a lot of running. And so we got all of that from David. Great actor that he is. But it's not a lot of, acting content as far as dialogue, interaction with other people. It's a lot of like, okay, vibes. And so, a lot of this episode was him just really exploring the Texas countryside, if you will, just trying to find out where to go next.
Looking very tired and distraught. Like that was episode 1. How much can you look tired and distraught and very exhausted?
Right. And then episode 2 will be about like, how do you become a cop? And so we will get to the ins and outs of episode 2 right after this break. We're going to take a quick moment to get a word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to talk about it and wrap things up here. Okay. So episode 2, the rise of the U.S. Marshal is what I'm going to call it, because we know that BassReeves ends up being the first Black U.S. Marshal. And so this is kind of how it starts. So we see that he tries to be a farmer. 1875 in Van Buren, Arkansas. The man is trying to farm, and it is very difficult to farm, Jason.
Yeah, he's having to burn his crops. He's got really nothing to show for all of his work. So it's a very kind of depressing and distressing time for old BassReeves here.
Yeah, it looks like he got the 40 acres and a mule treatment. Like, because we see that he has a mule and he has land, right? But the thing with 40 acres and a mule, and I don't know if a lot of people know this about the idea of 40 acres and a mule, is that, if you're giving away land to Black folk that are recently, freed Black people, maybe the same government that did not tell them that they were all free, that enslaved them for a very, very long time, that did not teach them how to read and write and didn't give them basic rights once they were freed, maybe they're not going to give them the best land.
So or give them land to be like, what am I supposed to do with this? I have no idea how to make use of this. So here's your stuff. Good luck in finding out how to use it. We're not going to tell you anything about how to use it, but we had to give it to you. So here you go.
Right. We had to give it to you in quotation marks, right? Like, so some people got it. And then when you got it, was the land even good? Who knows? And then if it was good, did you know how to use it? Who knows? Yeah. And then the mule, you think you got the best of the best when it comes to mules?
You got the runts. You got the runts.
You got the runts. What if the mule breaks a leg, Jason? Then what do?
You can't go and exchange it. Like, this one's broke. Can you give me another one? Like, no, we gave you your one. You're good. Bye.
Your one mule. It breaks a leg, it gets sick, it dies. Now you have 40 acres of land and no mule. And then the other thing is that mules are sterile. So it's not like you could take your mule to the next mule and say, okay, let's get some more mules going on this land. You got one shot at this.
you can't team up with your other fellow, free slaves. Be like, let's make some babies so we can keep this thing going. Like, you can't do that. So it's like you kind of giving them limited. You gave them something, but you didn't really give them much.
You didn't give them anything. Let's just call it what it is. And so Bass is determined to make this mule thing happen. He's like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Because God's trying to teach me a lesson here that the farming is hard and probably some patience. But my granny used to say, don't ask the Lord for patience because they're gonna give it to you, and you go and you don't really want that. So
I tell you one thing, Bass. I tell you one thing, Bass is good at though. It's making them babies. Because
he's not sterile at all. He's far from a mule.
In this 10-year jump, he's made 3 more of them, and he's got 1 more on the way. So he's gonna have 5 kids in total pretty soon.
Which is wild, Bass, because you can't feed the ones you got. Bass is like, man, we out here struggling. I'm really trying to make some money off these crops. Bass.
They did not invent the pull-out method until the early 1900s. So,
you would think that would be first in front of mine. They're like, why do we keep having all these kids? It's like we have sex and then you get pregnant.
Gotta be a way to avoid this.
How do we get through this one? Have you tried not? It's like, no, we're not going to try abstinence.
Yeah, no, come on.
Just look, they taught me
I don't have much.
Bible,
I don't have much. I got that. Right. I don't have much. I got my 40 acres of mule and I got sex. Those are things I got.
Right. Listen, they taught me how to read the Bible, but some of it, I think I have to interpret it my own way. It just says, we're married, so I think we can still do this.
Some of it's human instinct. You're going to be taught how to do some stuff.
Exactly. We can figure it out. And so, he ends up getting approached by Cheryl Lynn, Deputy Marshal. And Cheryl Lynn, is this Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, it's Dennis Quaid, baby. All gruff and these varmints come be a deputy for me. Putting on his best gruff.
This felt lived in for Dennis Quaid.
A lot of the dialogue he felt very comfortable with saying some of the stuff he was saying.
I feel like Dennis Quaid is a great actor.
Yeah.
I don't know his life, but I feel like Dennis Quaid. Okay, okay.
He's like, like acting. I act like I'm doing this stuff. Sure.
I'm keeping an eye on you, Dennis Quaid. I'll just say that. I'm going to do some Googling. Yeah, we see you. So he tells a story about him and a man named Horace Lee who went after a guy named One Charlie, who was charged with the introduction of whiskey. That sounds like a victimless crime to me, but okay. They go after One Charlie.
Sounds like a hero to you, right, Chappell?
A guy who's introducing whiskey in the area of Texas and Arkansas. Yeah. I think this guy I might need to get a picture of this man and put it on my wall. So they have to go after One Charlie because he killed Horace. And Deputy Marshal Cheryl Lynn took that personally in a very Michael Jordan way. And so he's like, I need backup. I need BassReeves. He came looking for BassReeves by name, basically. He's like, you the guy I need. BassReeves has a hell of a reputation here in the Deep South.
I wondered how he got that reputation, right? Because that was kind of missing for me. He's like, yeah, judge, whatever, told me to come find you. I was like, but why? We don't know why Bass has a reputation. We don't know why he was recommended by name. I felt like that was a piece that was missing to fill in some of the gap of the story.
Yeah. Judge Parker, I think, was the guy who kind of sent him to him or whatever. Maybe it's because that one guy, right? Major Pierce, he got away, right? He got away. He got away. So maybe Major Pierce is like, man, this guy Bass gave me a second shot or something.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like we're gonna meet Major Pierce again if I was to guess, because I mean he did kill his stepson. And I would assume we're going to meet him again down the road, but I don't think they left on the best of terms. So I don't know if he would be recommending him for any jobs anytime soon, but it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he got recommended by Judge Parker for Posse Man. And as we outlined, BassReeves loves the posse, and so he's like, okay, I'm down.
All up in that posse, baby.
He's down with OPP, other people's posse. And so Bass will now go join this man, Sheriff Lynn or Cheryl Lynn, on this journey. And so they basically go, he talked to Jenny about it. Jenny like, whatever, do your thing. And so they're on the lookout for the rogues, right? And there's 3 types of rogue: ones that steal horses, supplies whiskeys, and the ones that will cut your heart out over both. because they're in the land of outlaws. Now, Jason, you're an outlaw, right?
Of course, I live that outlaw life. I don't follow any rules. I do whatever I want. So I was very relatable to me about the outlaws and past the deadline.
Yeah. Jason, we also see a man run up on Jenny at some point. This skinning and grinning dude,
Boy, you better get away from Jenny for a
get
bass
away
come
from
over here.
Jenny, sir. What?
Oh, for a bass come over here and teach you a damn lesson, boy. You better get the hell out of here.
Yeah, Jason,
You
who is
value
this
your
man?
life. And we have to see this guy again, right? Because it was too acted, right? It wasn't just a side character. I think we're gonna see this guy again. He's gonna come back and hit on Jenny some more. I think Bass might have to come and take care of him. I'm not sure what this is leading to, but I'm gonna keep my eye on him.
Right. I'm looking at the actor now. Grantham Coleman plays a man named Edwin Jones. So that was Edwin Jones, who did approach Jenny and kind of be like, "Oh, you pregnant? That's cool. I don't see your man around here nowhere."
That
And
baby
she's
got
like,
a daddy.
"Whoa."
That baby got
Right.
daddy. I could be him.
Right. Like, and Jenny was not giving him nothing. She was like, "Nah, I'm good on this." I'm looking at Grantham's IMDb. He was in several things. It seems like, okay, like most actors, he did at least one episode of NCIS. Of both NCISs, NCIS Los
Probably different
Angeles
characters.
and proper. Yes, of course. He was on the Carmichael Show once, and he does a couple shorts. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm thinking that we might see a little bit more of Edwin Jones for a second, because the connection that him and Jenny made was kind of like, something to think about.
He gonna have to find out, like Massa did.
Right. You really need to go. You need to go on somewhere, Edwin Jones. Go on somewhere.
Because if Bass doesn't show you, Jenny gonna show you. I feel like Jenny's tough. Jenny's a tough lady.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mess around with Jenny just like I wouldn't mess around with Bass.
She was seemingly loyal to Bass for like 10 years while he could have been away and dead and everything, And so I don't think she's jumping ship anytime soon. So later on, Bass and Cheryl Lynn, they go and they find a man inside a covered wagon. And he's like, "Oh, well, look out, because it's about to get real." And then next thing you know, there's a shootout. Of course, Bass survives because he's Bass. And he's able to give this man who gave him the heads up a like honorable death. He dies, but he makes sure that he buries him. And there's a very funny moment where Cheryl Lynn is coming over to him like, "You still believe in God even after slavery?"
Yeah, like I wouldn't blame you if you gave it up. Like,
yeah, like
you gotta be right.
Yeah, Bass was like, "Look, those chains were man-made, and prayers can't hurt." And today that I say, yes, Bass, I'm with you on the prayers can't hurt. Like, you want to pray for me, I'll take it. But also, I might have to ask a few questions. Yeah,
that's an interesting logic. That's an interesting logic there, Bass. But you go ahead and do you.
Listen, the faith of a mustard seed, they say, is what's been keeping these people going for a very long time. So he's still trying to hustle the Cheryl Lynn. He says, "I give you $5 to show you some food, And Cheryl Lynn said, "Nah, teach me about this mystical stuff that all those injuries taught you, the engines." It's like, wait a minute. What? So the Native Americans are allegedly out here teaching Bass some tricks because what happened was there was a big shootout, an ambush one time between Lynn and the Native Americans in the area, and although he survived, this man got scalped, Jason.
He got partially scalped. He's got a grudge for sure. He's holding on to that grudge for dear life. He sees all Native Americans as the same, which interesting.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the story wasn't really clear about how he got out of the scalping.
Right, it's like they scalped you and left you there.
Yeah, okay. But somehow he survived it. I don't know.
Yeah, they told him, "Tell your friends," and by golly, he will. He's
we'll
going
leave
to
you
make
as
sure.
an example for your buddies,
right? And he went on to say, "It'd be nice, genocide." And so, more of that to come, I'm sure, within this series. So they finally run up on one Charlie. They try to do the good cop, bad cop. BassReeves goes in there with the serpent's tongue. He's out there speaking random languages like Creek. And Cheryl Lynn says, "I'm going to do the roughhousing." And so the roughhousing ensues. He tries to kick in the door and he meets a woman. And she meets him with a rifle because she is not to be trifled with. And so after some negotiations, she tells Bass, I don't really even like Charlie like that. That's my cousin, and he be bringing bad juju to the house. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I look up, Charlie into something. So if you could just try to bring my cousin back alive, that's all I could ask.
You're over on 2121 Martin Luther King Boulevard. Go get him. She
Right.
snitched that man out in a heartbeat.
Exactly. And so he's like, okay, cool. So Bass leaves her a little money for the door that they kicked in and heads on out. Meanwhile, at the house, Jenny is met with a carriage full of people, including a young boy named Arthur Mayberry, or who is making eyes at little Sally Bass Reeves.
Now, yeah. Oh, now this guy, I know this guy. This guy was Little Randall on This Is Us, and he's not little anymore. He's like last time I saw him, he was a little kid. So now he got a deep ass voice. It's, oh my god, go ahead, Little Randall. But yeah, Jenny spots it in a minute. She's like, this ain't happening. You, Sally, you go take your hot ass back in the house. You little boy, you stay the hell away from my house.
Yeah, there's even a moment where he comes over to Jenny. He's like, Miss Reeves, I just want to talk to
how you doing?
Something. And she's like, boy, if you come back around here before Sally's of age, I will shoot you. And he's like, hey, my bad, player. I didn't know it was like that. So this is funny. Do you think we're gonna get more of Arthur Mayberry? Is he coming back for Sally when they are both grown ups?
Yeah, I mean, he might try and thaw Jenny to be like, come around a little more, like test the boundaries. Like, is it okay if I come now? Like, he'll check in every now and then. But yeah, I think we're probably this is a lot of setup in these first 2 episodes for characters. I mean, this is only an 8-episode show, 8-episode first season, and we're down 2 episodes already. So some stuff is probably going to pay off somewhere down the line. So Bass goes after Charlie. He ends up scurrying into a building. There's some gunshots. Woo, woo, woo. Bass is doing the whole like, I swear, we're gonna take you in. We're gonna take you in alive. This is Western. I give you my word. This is Western Training Day right here. Like,
right, exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. Because while Bass is out back, like, hey, I got you. I promise, Charlie. Look, I got you. Just come with me. Cheryl Lynn is like, nah. How about Molotov cocktail? And so
we were doing Molotov cocktails back in the day. I never thought about when Molotov cocktails originated, but I did not know they were around in the 1800s.
Yeah, and we normally don't see a Molotov cocktail connect with a person so easily. Like it normally, like you see a Molotov cocktail thrown through a window, the building burns up, people run out of the building. No. Yeah. This man is burning alive inside the building.
One Charlie is stubborn. He's not coming out for nothing unless he's fully on fire.
And he does. He tries to stop, drop, and roll. It doesn't help. One Charlie.
All he taught us at elementary school was a lie. It does not work. Stop, drop, roll like, does not work.
It does to an extent, but there's a limit. Like if you've got a little fire on you, fine. But if you're covered in flames, good luck, Charlie.
Yeah.
And Chuck ran out of luck here. We have one less Charlie. BassReeves puts him out of his memory by shooting him. And although, like, mission accomplished, they got him. This was the whole thing that he was getting paid to do. Cheryl Lynn is not happy with this. He's kind of like, Bass, you tripping. Like, one Charlie, we hate that guy. And you putting him out of his misery, I ain't like that. I ain't really like the way you got down. And then we start looking at Cheryl Lynn like, Cheryl Lynn, you kind of suck.
Sherilyn was having fun watching this man burn to death, and Bass, stole his joy, stole his fun by letting him save a little of his dignity by just let him, just shoot him in the head and let him go.
Right, exactly. And this does not go over well with Bass. He's kind of like, look, I'm trying not to punch another white man, but I think I might have to punch another white man.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen. I'm gonna have to deck you.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Bass was about, because Bass looked like he had murder in his eyes, and so for Bass just to let off one punch, I think that took a lot of restraint on Bass's end.
Yeah. It was the one less Charlie comment that really got him. He's like, all right, I got to take you out. Because he says, like, sometimes you got to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And if that devil had just done what I told him to do, you wouldn't have had to shoot him in the face.
Where have we heard this before? This all sounds very familiar.
But if you just complied, Jason, then you don't get shot in the face.
He shot first. Like,
He shot first. What? Yeah. Anyway, BassReeves like, hey, F the police. And so he shoots this man in the face, and heads back home to Jenny. Because he's like, hey, Jenny, it's crazy out there. I punched a white man. I know it
I
happens.
love that line between them. He's like, "Ah, yeah, I punched another white man." Like,
She's like, again? Again?
hilarious.
Really, Bass? She's like, God dang it. Did you at least get the money? No, I didn't get the money either. Um, she's like, well, I wish you
And Jenny's
had.
out, already out spending his money. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
well, that's a problem because I just bought this piano on credit.
yeah, I went to cons and got some appliances. Really hoping you would come home with the money. He's like, I guess I got to get back out there with the mule. I guess you got to get out there with the mule. And
Mhm.
so he does. He's out there tilling the land again, trying to make magic happen, and he just can't get it going until eventually, he's ran up on by Cheryl Lynn, who does not look happy to see him, but he almost looks like relieved. Like, Bass, I've been looking for you. And yeah, I'm not happy that you punched me in the face, but I got some marching orders for you. You went to
I, lo-
Mercy.
I love
Mhm.
when Lynn is coming and Matt's like, oh, get the kids in the house.
Yeah,
so
going in the
so
house.
shit's about to go down.
I'm gonna have to punch another white man.
And
And so
and Lynn brought backup, like in case Bass
yeah, he
gets
can't
punchy
keep.
again.
He brought his posse. And so yeah, Bass is the most earnest man this deputy has ever met. And he says, I took your earnestness to the judge, Judge Parker, who already speaks highly of BassReeves. And he says, yeah, he wants you to be a marshal. Now, can you handle the weight of the badge? So Bass went from F the police to I'm the police. It's me. The call is coming from inside the house. Um, yeah, this is it. Lawman BassReeves, he did it. He's a U.S. Marshal. The end. In the show.
Yeah, I think Bass thinks that he can bring some sort of real justice to the deputy to the deputy badge to the department. But I think he'll probably find it a lot harder than he thinks it is.
You mean to tell me just becoming the police will not change the entire makeup of the police?
Shocking, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
fix it from within. Yeah, okay.
Fix it from within. That's what they
Go
say.
ahead.
Be a part of the change you want to see. So BassReeves said God has given him the task of, making sure that justice is served. And I guess BassReeves gets to decide what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he, the legend of BassReeves is many. He's I think he like arrested like over 3,000 men or something like that. Is the legend of BassReeves. So I guess he's going to do a good job at it. Whatever pitfalls he comes upon during that, we will see or we won't see. I don't know. But it was a show. It was a full story.
It was. I mean, it gave us a beginning, a middle, and an end. Both the episodes were cohesive, and it led us to the what happens next, right? So we know there's 8 episodes in the season. They're going to be dropping them weekly. After they drop these, obviously they've already dropped these first 2, but then they're going to start doing weekly drops after this for 6 more weeks, and then that'll be the end of season 1 of the Lawmen BassReeves. Now, originally this was supposed to be a spinoff of Yellowstone. I don't know if they ever plan on making that happen later on and maybe increasing this universe. But right now,
Yeah.
it seems like it's a standalone for at least 1 season.
Yeah, it's kind of it was supposed to be a spinoff of a spinoff because the Yellowstone, initially spun off to, I think it's called 1883. So I think this was supposed to be a companion piece to that, but they nixed that idea, so it's not officially connected anymore. But I do believe that this is like an anthology series. Like Lawmen BassReeves will be the first season, and then the next season will cover a different lawman. I think is the plan for this show. So I think we're only getting this BassReeves story. We're going to get it probably in its totality in this eight episodes. So that's interesting.
Okay. Well, if they switch to a lawman who's not black, we won't be here for that because this is the Connect, and we have a very specific focus here. And so yeah, exactly. This could be the end of the road, but it could not be. And so we will leave that up to the listeners of the Connect. If you want more coverage of the Lawmen BassReeves, it's only 8 episodes, then let us know. Send us some 5-star reviews. I say 5-star reviews only because otherwise we won't see them. Leave us some comments on the YouTube channel, and that's post-show recaps on youtube.com. If you go there, and you'll find the Connect playlist. And if you see this, or you come across this content, of course, leave us a review and say, I need more of this content. If not, we can move on, but we still need those 5-star ratings and reviews because that's how we get the podcast out to other people. And that's how we'll know what you want us to talk about. So if you have any suggestions, any recommendations, let us know. Go to connect at post show recaps. You can email us that, or like I said, leave us 5-star reviews wherever you get your podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify, so that works as well. You can send us tweets at post show recaps on Twitter, and keep us posted with what you want to hear us talk about here on the Connect. But until we get a definitive answer about that, we'll definitely have to have you back on soon to talk about something else, Jason, because this was a blast.
Yeah, I had such a fun time. I've been waiting for a Chappell Jason solo meetup project. So we're here. We did it. Hopefully we can find other stuff to connect on.
There you go.
So yeah, I had a blast with you, Chappell, as always, per usual.
Yeah, and tell Jason, I know you gave your resume at the beginning of the podcast, but tell people where they can find you right now.
Yeah, on Twitter, you can find me at JAYR1085. As far as podcasts, there is A Perfect Match, where we cover Married at First Sight. I do that with Asia Welch. And over here on Postal Recaps, I'm covering Invincible with Gia Worthy, Loki with Sasha Joseph, Gilded Age with Marissa Garza. So you can find me on all those things. Recently, I was on the 90 Day Fiancé podcast with Puya over on the RHAP feed. So doing a lot. If you want to find me, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at Chappelle's_show, tweeting out the links to all the stuff I'm talking about. Suitspodcast.com. We're still doing daily Suits coverage. Just did some Big Brother coverage as we wrap up season 25 of that. You can find me here on Post Show Recaps talking about The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead as it begins to wrap up. I'll be covering that. Mari and I are still talking about Rap Shit. It just dropped, and so we're dropping episodes of Rap Shit on Max very soon. So check that out on the Connect on Post Show Recaps playlist on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcast. And then Sasha and I are covering Below Deck every Wednesday. We've been going live. We had to take a couple Wednesdays off though because we've been traveling, but we're back now to record and drop some Below Deck Mediterranean coverage for you on Rob Has a Podcast. So of course, follow me on Twitter at Chappelle's_ to keep up with all of that. And then of course, subscribe to Post Show Recaps or the Connect on Post Show Recaps wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, again, let us know what you want us to talk about and we will try to deliver that for you. But for Jason and for me, Chappelle, we will talk to y'all